Chapter 4, the susceptibility scale. What is the susceptibility scale and how do we go about taking it?
Reena, I think that this is one of the most important concepts that's standing between us and really solving the obesity epidemic. Because so many people who have really great insights about health and food are low on the susceptibility scale. And to be quite frank, they have no idea what it's like to be high on the susceptibility scale. And the solutions that they're talking about are not strong enough for someone who's got a different kind of brain. And if we all understood that there's this scale that reflects how susceptible someone is to food addiction, how susceptible someone's brain is to being wired for that dopamine downregulation or that leptin resistance. Not every brain is the same.
Yeah.
And if your brain is, this is actually a good thing, evolutionarily speaking, really nimble, really wireable in that way, well, then the addiction sets in really fast in this current climate. And now you've got a problem on board that's not the same as research shows that about 1/3 of people and 1/3 of rats and mice, if you care, are not susceptible to addiction at all. I'm even talking about to heroin.
Wow.
Like, yeah, you give them heroin every day for a month. They can't wait to get off it when that month is over. Even if they'll go through some withdrawals, they don't care. They can't wait to get off it. Just think of people going home with a Vicodin prescription after back surgery, right?
Yeah.
People don't become pill heads after that, right? So not everybody. So some people do. I would. So it depends on the type of brain you have, right? So the susceptibility scale goes from 1 to 10. You can find out what kind of brain you have at foodfreedomquiz.com. Because only by knowing where you're at on the scale can you really chart a path to food freedom. Exactly. It's a different path for someone who's got a highly addictable brain than someone who's low in their addictive. So if you're highly addictable, now concepts like abstinence and quitting start to come into the vernacular. If you're low on the susceptibility scale, you have no addiction problem. You don't need to abstain from anything. You need to moderate your calories, eat off smaller plates, make sure that you eat healthy foods. Think more about what healthy foods you want to add to your life than worrying about what you're going to subtract. There's all kinds of different strategies if you're low on the susceptibility scale. If you're high, you are basically in a situation right now where unless you've gone to one of the more militant 12-step food addiction programs, there is not a solution out there in the world for you until Bright Line Eating came along. Because you have a problem on board that the environmental cues and the willpower gap are fighting against you every single day. And with, leptin resistance and that overpowering hunger and dopamine downregulation and that, horrible craving that you experience periodically. And then the willpower gap, you're a sitting duck. There's no way you're going to lose your weight. No way.
Absolutely.
I give you 0% odds, right?
Exactly.
But, figuring out how to do it, with a program like Bright Line Eating, is like deciding to climb Mount Everest. It's that big a job, but signing up with a crew that takes people regularly and has a history where they've taken 100,000 people up the mountain and down safely without, you know what I mean? That's what you got to do. It's a big job. Yeah. So that's the susceptibility scale. Not every brain is the same when it comes to food. And be careful if you feel like you have some addictiveness to food on board, like you're talking about, Reena. You do, right?
Oh, I do. I think I was a 9.
Oh, there you go. Oh, yeah, totally. Yeah. So I'm what we call a 10 plus. 10 actually. Here's something, since I read your academic background, I know you'll appreciate. So everyone else, don't listen unless you like to geek out on numbers. But as you go from low to high on the susceptibility scale, it's a squared function. So the psychological space at 1 is very small. Their food behaviors are all pretty much identical. As you move up the scale, the psychological space gets exponentially bigger. And so the variation among 10s is enormous. Some people use laxatives, some people don't. Some people binge their brains out, some people don't. You can be a 10 and barely a 10 and have a completely different profile than someone who's a 10 plus. So anyway.
Wow. Very fascinating.